Hey, I know, like, you know where I'm at, like, hey, Jeff, no, I got you, brody. Look, hey, let's go, hey. Real life, real talk, never fall, we ain't doing that. Want me fall off, but I can't, I'm just too attached. I was so lost, I ain't going back. Never fall, never fall. We on the road, yeah, we on the road. Every day like the Olympics gon' go. Yeah. I'm in control, I thought you should know. Real life, real talk, never fall.
We were just addressing Harry's new camera.
I just want to say that you guys thought I looked like a potato fuzzy, but now I'm crisp. Now I'm a crispy potato.
Crispy potato, air fried with a little bit of olive oil, salt.
Yeah. How's it going, bro?
It's good, man. How are you? What's new?
Yeah, good. I've been getting lots of good feedback about the podcast.
Yeah, I have as well. To be honest, I just enjoy it. Thank you so much for doing it. It's actually quite fun.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
I just tell people it's like I'm sitting at a cafe having a chat with some mates.
Yeah, I mean, we can't do this otherwise because you decided to live in Sydney. So
yeah, this is also true. But let's be honest, bro. If we did that, we wouldn't be able to do this if we also lived in the same place because we'd be trained together and
Denver
nothing good would happen.
And Denver would be late. So
yeah. I said we'd be trained together. Denver would be what are you guys doing? Finished?
No. Did you see the leg press he put up?
Yeah, I did see him do with one leg what I did with both legs.
Yeah, bro, like
and a greater range of motion.
That leg press is so heavy. Like it's heavy. And
I remember those ones. Yeah, they're crazy.
I think he had 5 plates on it, and like just that depth, like my adductor would just like tear off the bone.
I feel like I could get it down.
Yeah, I do a good job of getting it down.
I don't think I could bring it up. It'd come down quicker.
Yeah, I know.
And knee would pop off.
How's
it's crazy.
How's your training this week?
It's been so much good feedback about the training thing. It's not. I mean, apparently everybody doesn't do it.
I know. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
So it's been good to see it.
It was cool because like quite a few people sent in some real ruthless sets. And I was watching it, and I'm like, this is what we want to watch. This is what we want to watch. I've got to go through them all now and pick the best one, which is going to be kind of difficult because there's a lot of them that are impressive in their own way. But
So, I mean, it's horses for courses, right? Because it's just hard. It's always going to be hard. It's the effort that you look for.
Yeah. I mean, some of them, yeah. But
I was going to send you one as a piss take, just doing curls or something. Curls to failure, but then I realized I didn't even do curls that hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I can't, man. I got this forearm problem, like in here, like not my elbow. My elbow's here, but it's like where's the camera? But it's like here, like in the forearm.
Yeah.
And it's so it flares up every now and then. You know what? Funnily enough, what fixed it was during lockdown. I couldn't train like the first lockdown. I didn't train for like 7 weeks, and it got better. Denver's joining, and it got better. Funnily enough. Yeah. It got better from resting it, but I'm obviously not going to rest it. So I've just got to be real cautious with what I like. After training back, it's like wrecked.
Yeah. I get the same. Yeah,
so my bicep training is so boring. It's just like so light. Here he is,
big guy. Oh. Look at you guys. One's the red, one's in the blue. Well, I must be the referee.
We played this.
I'm not playing that game. How many plates was on that leg press? Was that 5 plates?
No. But I wish that was 4, bro.
Yeah, but even 4 is like, I thought it was. I was like, if there's 5 plates, I'm just gonna retire.
Bro, like half the challenge was trying to just stabilize myself doing that weight.
That leg press is hard. Like people don't understand how hard that is.
The actual sit.
When we did the hacks last week, me and Nat did the hacks last week, and I only went up to 3 plates. I haven't done it for so long, and like this hack squat is legit heavy. I'm not just making excuses. And I was like, Tom was like, how's Denver doing 4.5 for like 12? I was getting pissed off, and he goes, well, if you look at his legs, I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, that's how.
Yeah. Oh, who would have thought? Who would have thought? I was gonna bring something up. So I don't want to like I'm gonna like change it a little bit because obviously I don't want to talk about who it's about. It's nothing bad, but I had a client text me today, and they were like saying, someone said to him that you shouldn't have a burger before your show. Forget it's a burger. And he was like, you shouldn't have it. You shouldn't do that because you'll look blocky. And I was just like, this guy's like kind of respected. And I just said, like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. You can never say to someone, you shouldn't do this. The guy's 12 weeks out. I'm like, how is he telling you what you should or shouldn't do 12 weeks out?
Yeah.
Like, what's with these absolutes? Like, you should never do this. You should never do that. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And this has come up a few times this week. This like just people being so like stuck in a way. Like, yeah, I thought it was quite ridiculous. He also said, oh no, I won't go there. I'll tell you guys off camera. But I just wanted to like bring that up. Like
Go there.
Nah, because it's not really it's kind of boring. Like, no one wants to hear about it. It's like a bit lame. But but this whole like, oh, you should, like, 12 weeks out, you shouldn't have like, what if that's the necessary step? Like, why are you gonna look blocky just because you eat a burger? He is a blocky guy, but what? So you're gonna look blocky from a burger? How about like the next 12 weeks just get killed as shit and bring it wasted?
Just before getting on stage.
He's talking about he was meaning like the night before the show.
Yeah, but I feel like that's like dependent on the person, really. Like
exactly. We've all done it with success.
I know some people that probably need 3-4 burgers to do the job, and then some people just literally need like a couple meals of kurma.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
I think this is like what you were saying last week about people trying to discredit. You know what I mean? Well, that's crazy what you're doing, and it's part of that whole. It's part of that. It's just like, why would you'd never do that? That's nuts. But it's case by case, and it's literally, I think that's just somebody trying to just put a bad note on somebody.
Sure. Yeah, I honestly don't know the guy, and I don't think he was saying it. I don't think he was doing it in a way that's like trying to be negative or trying to. He's just like that. He's just like, this is how you should do it. I don't think he was doing it in a way to be like, what you're doing is wrong. I think he was being genuine, but still, obviously people do it in that way as well. But yeah, I just was just like, man, like what's with this? Like, you can't do that. You can't do that. Well, sometimes you just need to look at a scenario and figure out a game.
Yeah, and I think if I could just say something here, it's something that I've noticed I've noticed it over the 30 years I've been coaching people. Right, there's different types of coaches. So some coaches are really have a lot of success with everybody that does who what works on them. If that particular thing works on all of their clients, amazing. When they're outside of that, it becomes a little bit problematic. So a lot of guys who are really can be phenomenal coaches. Sometimes they've got such a set system and they can't see outside that system. Whereas we probably have a more, well, I mean, I certainly know that I have and both of you guys, it's more specific to the individual. And it's not just, okay, this is what works for me, so this is all that you can do. And I think guys get very rigid in that method, and it's across everything. So it'll be across food, it'll be across their supplementation, it'll even be across training. It has to be this way. This is the only way that works. But the truth is, there's 1,000 ways, and everybody, especially with nutrition, everybody's body is very different. So, and I feel like that's why you'll have, a guy who's amazing with some types of clients because they suit his style, and then it just doesn't work on others. They over deplete them, they starve them too hard, or something goes missing. And it's the same with every aspect of supplementation. They're so rigid in their thinking, and they can't see outside that. And I feel like that's a little bit of a sort of a failing on their part. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people struggle with females who have crazy metabolisms, because sometimes, like, the typical bodybuilding prep, if you don't really understand how to do a proper prep with someone, you just do we've probably all done this at one point as well when we were younger. Okay, it's another week, let's pull the food down, let's up the cardio, let's pull the food, let's up the cardio, let's pull the food, let's up the cardio. That will work to a point, not in an optimal way, but it will still get someone leaner. But when someone's got a crazy metabolism and you do that, like, it's not what they need. Like, it's not what their body needs. So that's why you sometimes see women like peeled out of their minds, but like stringy, and just because like they use that formula that they use for this guy. Yeah. And all of a sudden it didn't work well. And again, that's just not looking at the situation for what it is.
Yeah.
And it's just looking at like, okay, this is how I prep. This is how you do it. This is what you're meant to do because this is what this guy showed me, or this is what he did for me, or yeah. But yeah, I've had some like, it's funny because you work with enough people and you like this off season, like this girl's prep is like this girl's off season, or this guy's prep is like this guy's off season. So different, and it's when you start to see how often it is that it's like there's no way you can just, and of course there's always going to be similarities and there's going to be things you might prefer, but yeah, it's like this like my way or the highway thing needs to be knocked on the head, because it's just, but yeah, it doesn't really work like that. Yeah,
Great.
All right, we got a few questions. I want to do a few of them at the start because I feel like sometimes we blab on a little bit. And we got quite a few, but I picked a couple because some of them are just, we're just going to repeat ourselves every single week. And I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to go with stuff that we haven't talked about too much. I mean, obviously this is all related, so it's always going to be a little repetitive, but so I got a bit of a funny one, and you guys are both huge, so you've probably got experience with it. I know what I think, but someone asked me best ways to reduce snoring when bulking as a male. I don't think they know.
I mean, yeah, stop bulking.
Stay light.
Yeah.
The minute you get heavy.
Have a move to another room.
I think one thing that we could probably speak on is if someone doesn't usually snore and they start snoring, they may have a sleep apnea problem, which is unrelated. But that could be something to look into, because if you're not getting proper sleep, you're not going to be progressing as best as you can. And it is very, very common with guys who put on weight, especially if you put it on quick. I don't know how fast this guy's put on his weight, but I mean he's not small, so it could be that could be maybe it. I don't know if he's got a history of snoring. He may have always snored. I don't know. I do think he's just got a new girlfriend, so maybe this is part of why he's asking me this question.
Yeah, maybe he didn't realize before.
He's stressing out and he needs answers now.
I mean, I think, listen, so from my perspective, it's a very hard thing to, if you put on 20, 30 kilos above where you should be or more, that whole not snoring thing, that ain't going to happen. But I feel like what you can do to help is breathing exercises. It's such a redundant thing, not a redundant thing. It's such an unaccounted for thing. People don't pay attention to it. But if, you do a lot of breathing exercises. So I do breathing exercise. It helps me with my training, my recovery, all those kinds of things. So the hope would be that also helps reduce the snoring. But I'd have to ask Mel about that, and I think she'd just say, nah, none of it's really doing anything.
Doesn't work. Obviously staying leaner will help too.
Yeah, and listen, otherwise it's just that, or drop that weight, drop that extra weight. Even if you're lean, but if you're big, you're still going to snore.
You're going to snore.
Yeah, it's just can't help it.
That is what it is. Denver, anything to add? Or?
Sorry, bro.
You can't really help them.
Going off that leanness thing, I definitely say, like, I did find staying in better composition all around off season. It didn't fix the issue, but it did improve it. Obviously, you're going to reach a point where, like, you're going to be lean and heavy, and then you just can't, like. Yeah. But what I did find help a lot. Again, this was like a client that actually told me one of these. And was elevating my head, opening my airway. Whereas I usually find with most bodybuilders is if your pillow is being like just a thicker back and shoulder stuff, and you notice that your head sits lower than your actual body, which cuts off your airway through the night. So by elevating your head tends to open that airway, and it definitely helps.
Have you ever worn one of the nose strips?
Yeah, I tried it, but I don't know if it did anything, but.
That feels good though, eh? Like when you have you had one, Harry? Have you used it before?
No, I haven't had one. No.
You know they are, right?
I used to want to get one of those, the sleep apnea machines, the breathing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I thought, no, that's a little bit.
Well,
that's too much, but apparently they're amazing.
I know people who've had them, and they say it's life changing because they actually sleep now.
Yeah, life changing for you, but how's that? Like just dragging all that shit into bed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's my only thing is like because it's so huge, and I'm like my dogs and my pups with me, they're gonna freak the shit out because I look like I don't know. Like a villain from like
And you have to breathe through your nose as well.
Here's Denver on his deathbed.
Yeah. I know people who have a few people who have them, and yeah, I think Aiden has one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually asked him where he got his from. I'm just like, I wish they had like a I don't know, like
I'm just not that.
a smaller kind of version of it, you know? 'Cause this
Yeah,
is-
and I'd struggle to just breathe, like, you know, like you have to learn how to just breathe through your nose all night for it to work.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure anyway, and it would be tough, but
I suck at that.
yeah, that's why I snore. Anyway,
Yeah, best thing he can. No, I got the solution. Just tell him to get earplugs for his missus.
there we go.
There you go.
Problem solved.
There we go. Good ones. Here's a good one. Red flags when looking for a coach.
Red flags.
I think that if again, you know, reiterating something we've spoken about, if the coach that you are looking for, the coaches that approach you constantly are negative about other coaches, I don't feel like that shows a lack of confidence in themselves. So for me, that would be one. I mean, you know, you look at somebody's track record with their clients. I think that's really important. So you look at the clients and you go, okay, so they have success with that. If you can talk to the clients, you have those conversations. So I guess it comes down to me, it's just if they talk a bunch of shit about other people, that's one red flag. And then if they have a lot of negative reviews, I guess, from people, other who were their clients, or pretty shitty results, then obviously that's another red flag. What do you guys got?
I guess the talking shit as well, though, is depending on what they're saying, because sometimes they're not actually talking shit. They're just talking about scenarios that happened that unfortunately are bad, but it's not, you know what I mean? So, but if it's just going out their way, like, oh, let's go, who's this guy? Like, that's just dumb.
Yeah. It's the wording, right? Because we might say, so we've all had it. And then I'd rather than say, well, gee, that guy's an idiot, I can't believe they made you do that, I might say something like, okay, so I probably wouldn't do it exactly like that. Here's what I would do, and this is why. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of it's about the wording, and I think some people just don't articulate themselves very well, and so it comes across like they're assholes, or they're assholes.
Yeah. I think, I've had clients come from bad situations before, and I would say the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest red flags. I mean, it's going to depend on what you want as an athlete, because coaches are all going to have their own way of doing things. So you need, before you worry about too much of this, you need to figure out what you actually want. Like, what are your goals? Blah blah blah. So to me, red flags would be, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like real bad things. Just a red flag would be maybe using someone who hasn't really had any experience with what you're trying to achieve. Like, if I want to be a professional bikini competitor, I'm not going to go to the coach who's produced 10 open men pros in the last 2 years but hasn't coached any females. That's stupid. I'm going to go to, you know what I mean? Not saying that if a guy's producing that many pros as a pro male, he can probably do it for females as well. But you know what I'm saying? Like, try and gravitate to somewhere. But at the same time, don't be fooled by the guy who's coaching 20 amazing genetically gifted girls for free, charging an arm and a leg to all these other people, but you only ever see as top clients. So do your homework, make sure they actually know what they're doing, and try and go for someone who's, make sure you see change. Like, don't just look for the end product. Don't go to, oh, that girl's amazing, who coaches her? Where did she start? Show me where she started and where she's at now. Then I'll be impressed. I don't want to just see where they're at now. So what I'm saying is, look for someone that's done what you're trying to do, where you're at now and where you want to be. And they've done it multiple times. A bad red flag for me is piss poor communication, especially when you're on a prep. We've all done preps. We know how important communication is, and how stressful it can be, especially if you're unsure about something. There's been too many times where I've picked clients up because their coach hasn't replied to them for a week. Their coach has taken a week to send their updated plan. They've had to chase their coach up every week for the last fucking month for their updates. Like, it's not good enough. If you're paying for a service, it's like you want someone who's going to take it as seriously as you're taking it. And saying that, if you want that, you need to act like it, and don't expect your coach to be 100% if you're putting in 20%, because it's not going to work. But if you want someone that's going to match you, I should say, That's probably my biggest red flags. Other than that, like, I mean, we could spend all day talking about red flags, but I mean, we're going to be talking about hypothetical situations.
Yeah.
Guys putting bikini competitors on 100 megs of primo a week. That's a fucking real big red flag. But I mean, that's that you're a moron if you do that. And if you get told to do that and you do that, it makes you a moron for not doing any research. So, yeah. I mean, the realistic red flags for me would just be like communication and just track record. That's what I'd be looking at for sure.
Again, going off everything you guys said as well, like just trying to think of what you didn't say. One thing I'd probably say would be a lack of experience. I feel like in bodybuilding, especially, I feel like you need to go through it, experience it firsthand to know, make mistakes and learn from them in all those different situations. Low carb, high fat, low. Like so there's like 10 different routes to that one physique. And I feel like we're getting way too many coaches these days that have done like one show, maybe one like a regional show, and the next thing you know, they've got a website and they're the coach, and you've barely seen them get themselves into shape.
Yeah.
And to be able to get someone else into shape,
It's also for like just being able to be empathetic to them as well. Like, you know how it feels to be 4 weeks out on real low carbs, exhausted, doing however much cardio you're doing. It's rich for someone to be like, oh, hard enough and do it when they've never done it before. Even though we would probably say that anyway, but at least we can say it in a way that like, I know where you're at. I know this is what you need to do. You just need a blah, blah, blah. But if you've never done it before, you just can't. You can't. I mean, I couldn't take someone seriously if they'd never at least been in that. They don't have to necessarily have been an amazing competitor, but if they had never walked that walk, I just wouldn't. It would be hard to listen to them. I don't know.
Well, you're giving a lot of faith to them, right? I mean, I guess the other thing too, just while I'm thinking about it is, I think a big red flag for me when I'm dealing with anybody in any aspect of life is arrogance. So, arrogance in the sense that this is just how you do it, my way or the highway, no explanation. Just that kind of like inability to articulate themselves and explain their process and, answer your questions kind of thing. There's a certain level I feel like where guys are just like, this is just what you do because I'm the guy that does this and da-da. Like, I feel like that behavior and that way of speaking really covers up for a lot of gaps in knowledge. For example, like we all get to certain points with clients where we're like, bro, I told you this 20 times. I ain't telling you again. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to do that. But first off, you get a question, and you get a question about something. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? You'll give them the basics for it. You'll say, okay, because of this, because of that. Sure, I'm not going to have that conversation with them over every little detail 20 times in a prep, but I'll take the time to explain certain things so that they have the confidence in my knowledge to do those things. Do you know what I mean? So, whereas I find like a lot of coaches just like, this is just how you do it. Because
let me touch on this because my opinions changed a little bit. So I used to spend a lot of time explaining everything. And I've stopped. And I explain very little now. And I'll tell you why. It's not because I'm being a control freak. It's not because I'm trying to, it's not because I'm just being arrogant. It's because I had too many situations where clients were literally copy and pasting what I was telling them, putting it on their story, putting it on their client posts, putting it like basically plagiarizing it, no reference at all. And half the time, not even explaining it properly. They don't even know what they're explaining. They'll ask me for critique on their movements, and then they'll go and literally post it with my critique, but not Jordan. Like that's their, you know what I mean? So they're using my information to get clients. And some people, I've had some clients who went as far as to like literally copy my spreadsheet for my plans, the template. You know what I mean? Like just. And the funny thing is, like, I would get like their ex-clients would sign up, and I'm like, this is basically exactly the same diet as this person had. So it just got to the point where I was like, I'm not gonna like. At the end of the day, if you go on my website, any coach's website, really, it'll be like off-season lifestyle, whatever. you know, get you in your best shape, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Nowhere does it really be like, I'm going to teach you all this shit. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm going to coach you. So really, I look at, if I'm going to spend time teaching you things, that's my choice. I don't need to do that. It's not what you're paying me for. If you want to do it, we can do it, but we'll work out a price and you can pay for it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not a lecturer. We're not lecturers, we're coaches. Now, I'm not, of course, like when I'm doing, I probably sound like I say nothing to people. And it got to the point with a few clients where I stopped explaining anything and I just sent the plan back because it was happening too often. And I even brought it up a few times and nothing changed. Whereas now, depending on, if I'm working with someone for a long time, there's been no issues, I have no problem. But usually I'll keep it quite brief. I'll kind of explain the goal. Okay, we need to push a little bit harder. You know, we need to get your weight up more, or you know, we need to bring you down a bit harder, blah, blah, blah. I don't go into details. We're doing this because this. There's some things you always have to explain, but yeah, I definitely don't do it anywhere near as much as I used to. And I'm at the point now as well. If I was still doing that, I would have no time. Like I would be there all day typing on my emails. So yeah, I definitely changed my view a little bit because I used to be the same. Like, oh, you should be able to explain anything, and you should, but yeah, it's that kind of like, ugh, you do, but then yeah, it just got real. Denver used to see it as well. I had clients sending me clients were sending me posts all the time, like, oh, she's doing it again, he's doing it again. Oh, isn't this yours? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh god, like, end of the day, it doesn't really matter because you can know something doesn't mean you know how to apply it, but it's just the principle. And especially when they're literally using it to build their businesses, whereas that's not what you're paying me for. You're paying me to get you to your show, or you know, to improve your physique. So yeah, it's a hard one. It's a tough one.
I mean, I agree. Yeah, that's 100%.
Yeah. Work in Denver.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I guess to some extent, you know, like I guess starting out with someone new, you might, you know, inform them on the basics and stuff like that. Yeah. But really going into depth and explaining things, I guess to some point you're right. Like there gets a point where you're literally signing them up to literally teach them everything rather than them executing a plan that you've written out for them. You know, so you can spend hours and hours, and then a lot of the times, like you said, that information just gets used to market themselves, which is, you know, kind of sad.
And as you said before, they're experiencing. I had a client actually, funnily enough, this just came to my head last week. She's like, "Oh, how come you changed all the amount? Like, I changed her diet up. I brought her carbs up. I lowered her fat. Her fat was super high, so I brought it down a little bit, put the carbs up a little bit, and reduced the protein a little bit." And she's like, "Why'd you do that? I'm just curious." And I was just like, sometimes, like once you've done this for long enough, sometimes you just look at something and your brain will just tell you this is what it needs. It's not necessarily, oh, because the X graph to the Y and then the blah, blah, blah. Like it's not always, you know, it's not all an equation. Sometimes
that's exactly what I was trying to say by like some things you just get with experience.
Your brain just tells you what you need.
You can't learn something from a book. You've got to live through it and learn it that way.
Yeah. And it's just the way it is. So sometimes it's just, there's not, I mean, you could probably explain if you really wanted to, but I mean, you're going to be sitting there for a while and they probably don't want to listen to it anyway. They probably just,
there's also a level of knowledge that they need to have to understand the explanation.
True. That's true as well. And that's why I didn't worry too much when I was seeing things up here and there all the time, you know, but yeah, anyway, if it fits your macros on a comp prep.
Shall I go?
Sure.
Yeah, you go, bro.
Again, it's I'm not saying that is right and wrong when it comes to this, but personally, my choice in the way I like to do things, I try not to do that because I do feel like eating a certain way, a certain kind of carb, a certain kind of protein at a certain time will get your body to perform a certain way. By just trying to get your total carbs, fats. I mean, for a competitor, I feel that's not ideal. For someone that's trying to do like a weight loss journey, go for it. You know, you're just trying to get the calories in and out, burn a bit more than you're putting in, you can do the job. Whereas an athlete having ice cream before you go to the gym, it's not really going to help you performing optimally, you know? Like, so I do feel like I do tend to stay away from that approach. And if someone does want that approach, I tend to forward them to a different coach.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I've done it.
I've had experience with in comp preps with both types. Obviously, the majority have been much more rigid, but I have had if it fits your macros. And what I find is that it's really you can get in shape like that, but to get that person dry and on stage looking how they need to look, unless they're genetically predisposed to it, it's a bit of an ask, because it's harder to as we talk about so often, one of the biggest things that we're trying to deal with a lot of the time is just somebody's digestive ability. And when they're on if it fits your macros, that's not something that they're really thinking of or taking care of. So I tend to find that to get them really dry and hard is a bit more work. So sometimes what I'll do with clients who want to do that, I mean, and they've been experienced and they've been good, is I'll say, okay, you do that, here are the numbers until we hit, and then as you get closer and closer, at about 6 weeks, okay, that's all done. Now we switch over to eating much more regimented and food timing and all those kinds of things to get those last bits in. I personally don't think it's an optimal way to prep, but certainly for lifestyle, yeah. But yeah, I don't. It's not my favorite thing to do.
I've seen natural males get peeled out of their minds doing IIFYM macros, but how many times have either of you seen a big male get peeled and be big doing IIFYM macro prep? I'm serious. I've never seen one.
No.
Yeah, it's just not optimal. It just goes back to the optimal thing. I've prepped a few. I think I've done a few, like a couple, not even a handful. Mostly females, I think. This was years ago. This was a long time ago. Not anymore. I had a few people tried in off season. It just doesn't. There's just too many factors and too many variables, and the digestion is never what it should be, and it just doesn't quite. I get the argument for some people, because the argument is like, forget the calories in versus calories out thing. I don't want to talk about that, but they'll be like, well, this is the only way I can stick to my plan. And if that's you, that's fine, and whatever. But you just got to, again, like, accept that there's going to be things you're missing. Because, I mean, at the same time, though, sometimes, like, I think people get a bit carried away. They hit IIFYM macros, and their head just goes to cupcakes, ice cream, and chocolate. But you can do it. You can do it without being a moron. And I guess you could do it, like, especially off season, you could do it in a way that, like, I mean, if you could still be smart with your food sources. You could still pick good carbs, just have a smaller variety of them. But I just think it's so much extra effort as well, like trying to every day calculate what you've eaten, and I've got 10 grams of carbs left and 4 grams of fat. What can I possibly eat? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's not something I would personally recommend or do for a prep, but I'm sure there's going to be people that will happily do it and would probably get decent results. So I'm not bashing it. I'm just saying, in my eyes, and you guys will agree, it's not the best way to do it, and it's probably not how we will do it. Yeah. Okay. Let's critique some physiques.
All right. We've got to talk about the training for blockiness. We can do that after.
Well, we will. I've got more questions.
Oh,
just splitting it up, so we're not just doing,
Just because one of your clients that sent me the message, and I'm like, we don't do it. She's going to come and bash you, not me.
Because I don't explain things. She actually, I would have 100% answered that if she asked me that. I'm not that bad. Okay. All right. I'm just screen. Okay. Trying to find a bodybuilder.
That we haven't done as well.
Yeah, there are a few. Why are they not all showing? This one. 25. Classic or open? This guy looks mean.
Open.
Yeah, for sure. Not classic at all. Open for days.
Yeah, 'cause I think he did do classic. Was it last year or year before?
I think he did. It was last. This guy competed in Christchurch. I was there. It was last year, and he did. I think he did both.
Yeah.
Are
we doing hairstyle critique today too, or?
Don't be jealous of his hair. I'd love to have a hairline.
I'd love to have a hairline too. I wonder if he runs faster when it's like that.
Probably. All right, who's going first?
I'll go. He's dude, he's put together. He looks great. I mean, he looks tall. How tall is he?
Good question. Let me see if he put it down. He might not have put it down. What was it, Tyrone? 5'11".
Yeah,
96 kilo on stage.
I think he's got a. I mean, he could do classic, but he's got bodybuilding frame.
Powerlifting total 300, 195, 300.
Strong guy, strong guy. I think he looks great, man. Like little waist, nice. Everything's pretty balanced. Just got to get bigger everywhere. It's conditions great. Probably fill in the lower lats there a little bit more, but it could just be his posing. But yeah, it looks like he's got everything. It's all pretty good. It's just a matter of time, right? I think he's not really spreading his lats there.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of a guy who, and a lot of people do this, because he has a small waist. He was probably encouraged, or he probably was encouraged to do classic, because as soon as someone has a small waist, they think, oh, I'm classic. Yeah. But perfect example of someone who could do well in classic because he's got a good structure.
Yeah.
But I think I don't think classic when I look at this. I think of a guy who's an open bodybuilder who can get real freaky and still look and flow. And
still look nice. I mean, I look at that physique and I think, oh my God, imagine that at 105.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because his lines are amazing, and if you put all that extra size on, his waist is just going to look smaller, and everything else is going to look freaky. He's not missing anything, that's for sure.
He's just definitely strongest from the front.
Yeah,
and I would say this obviously needs more thickness from the side.
Yeah,
and definitely from the back. I would say the back's probably the weak point. So I would like the top half anyway. The lower half.
Just the lower half's spot on. Just that filling out his lats a little bit more, right? So they're sort of hanging a little bit more.
Yeah,
and get a little bit more depth, I guess, thickness. But that's he's probably another comp conditioning of comp conditioned muscle, like another 5 to 6 kilos, and that's all going to start to look very freaky.
Yeah, this guy's going to be real good.
I mean, I feel like in the flesh at 96 kilos, that dude must have been pretty impressive to see on stage. You know what I mean?
I saw him on stage. He looked real good, and I think it was his first show as well.
Yeah,
I'd never seen him before, and I was like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah, he's definitely put together.
Yeah.
Just more everything, but thicker chest, thicker back. But he's got width, he's got taper, he's got good wheels. Yeah.
What do you reckon, Devin?
Yeah, I reckon definitely bodybuilder or not. I wouldn't say classic at all by looking at this. Again, like, you can be a bodybuilder and have good flow. Like having flow doesn't make you classic. Having good lines doesn't make you classic. You can be freaky with good lines. Very strong from the front for sure. I do feel like what's lacking in his physique overall is just that the thickness, the depth, which you can see a lot in his side poses as well, quite shallow through the chest and even just rear delt, and from the back, I'd say hammies, glutes all look really good, but I'd say most of the work needs to be done in the back. If you look at like upper back thickness, again, that could just be having high insertions as well, but just filling that area in, which I feel will come if he does get denser and thicker.
Yeah.
So I feel like that will just add the depth to that pose. So sometimes he might not be able to grow his lower lats too much, just having higher insertions. So if he can just fill that area up, it's great from the front, but from the back looks kind of smooth and flattened out.
Dennis Wolf had high insertions.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, he's probably one of my favorite bodybuilders.
This guy's only 25 as well. He's young. Like he's young. Like imagine 5 years on this if he sticks with it.
Yeah, no, 100%, man.
Freaking, man.
He looks great. And that conditioning, that's great. Yeah, this is a guy who I feel like, like you say, 5 years, maybe 2, 3 over the next few years, if he just continues to improve, it's going to start to look pretty spectacular.
Sure. Okay, let's move on. Another one.
Do the Mr. Fiji.
Mr. Fiji, okay.
Been pretty good with his form and posts and stuff.
Does he have any photos? Does Mr. Oh, here we go. Well, this off season. There's nothing. We'll have to do the off season one.
Yeah, it's still pretty decent.
What's this emoji about, man? Come on. Well, this guy just needs mass everywhere. That's I personally wouldn't be picking body parts apart. I would just say everything. Just put.
He just needs to be bigger.
He just needs to be bigger.
Yeah, he just needs to be bigger. I mean, what do you say? Shape's okay. Just can't really. He needs just a bunch more muscle, like a whole lot more muscle.
Yeah.
But yeah, for what's this off season? It's not too bad.
Good.
Just
conditioning is solid for off season, but
yeah, for off season. Yeah, I mean, and his waist is really small for off season. Imagine how small that's going to be in shape. The trouble is that, you know, right off that off season there, 2023 off season, you diet that down, and it's like there wouldn't be all that much left.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? So there's probably, he just needs to put on more size.
If that's 2021 off season, this is 2023 off season. If he's been disciplined and hasn't fallen off, I would personally want to see more progress for 2 years. But you never know what's gone on in someone's, you know.
And he's carrying better overall conditioning. That's one.
For sure.
But
he's about the same weight. He's 89 to 87. So he's definitely put on some decent muscle
quality. And I mean, he's an older guy, you know. Is he 45? I think, you know, it's tough for the older guys.
Never.
Hard for those guys to carry. Listen, I can't. I'm not looking forward to when I get to the age where it's hard to retain that muscle. Nice. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Denver?
Honestly, like decent flow, pretty good flow, I reckon. Like he doesn't look like he's sort of unbalanced or anything like that. So if he can keep the shape that he has now and just grow overall, just wider, thicker, and while trying to keep that sort of off-season condition, I feel like he could look really good on stage. Whereas you were right as well, like when you said, Harry, like if you were to diet this down, it would vanish, you know, like needs a lot more tissue there so that when he diets down, he's closer to this weight and more peeled at this look would be a much better look for sure.
The fact that he's kept tight as well will mean his prep will be a lot.
Yeah.
He'll salvage more. He'll keep more of that size because he's starting to lean. If he's competing, I don't know if he's competing, but yeah, okay. All in agreement. He's got good flow, but just needs more size.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do one more.
Do we have to do a female because we've done all boys?
Have any?
Sorry, guys.
Oh, good. Is that your dogs barking?
Yeah, it must. Someone must be up the driveway or something.
Not much to go by here. I'll have to go to the top. Wellness. It's hard to critique when it's not comp prep. But you guys can go on because obviously it's my client, so she knows what I think.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. I mean, I follow her well. Yeah, I've seen her photos and her posts and stuff. She looks great. I mean, for wellness, this is wellness, right? She's got the thickness in the lower body with the enough muscle up top, but not too much. Nice taper. When she gets in condition, she gets in great condition. Yeah, I think she looks really good. I don't know if I've seen that many contest photos, but for what I see of her off season, she looks amazing. Yeah, I mean, to me, this is when I look at that, I think, oh yeah, that's definitely a wellness. That's definitely a wellness body. I think. Is this a comp?
This was like the last few days before the show.
Yeah. So maybe
like
she's pretty tight. I mean, going by the Australian standard, I would say she just needs to be tighter through her lower body. Her upper body's probably just exactly where it needs to be, but just through her lower body, hamstring, glute, this and that needs to be tighter. But her shape is ridiculous, and her balance. I feel like that's a wellness physique, 100%.
I mean, she definitely needs to be tighter than this. I mean, this was like a 3-week prep, so she kind of stays quite lean all the time. But obviously, like for the standards that we're talking about, definitely needs to be tighter. And as a whole, I mean, her structure is great. She's got good genetics. Holds her fat real well. Like doesn't have a fat like an area where she carries. You know, some girls will hold more in their legs, some more
Yeah.
in their upper, some more in the abdomen. She's kind of just spread out evenly, which is a huge advantage. Definitely needs more muscle in the lower body, for sure. But so does pretty much everyone that's doing wellness. Well, a lot, not everyone, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And probably a bit more cap to the delts. But as a whole, yeah, good physique. A lot of it's going to come down to, for her, will just be coming down to conditioning, and if she can push herself mentally to get there.
Yeah, hit that real conditioning. I think that shape and real crazy conditioning, super competitive.
And she's got the time this year. She's got 12 weeks. This was a few weeks ago, these photos. So she's definitely in the right spot. But you can say all you like about, oh, you're in a good spot, but until you do the necessary between then and there, that's when you go, okay, you're in shape now. So it's going to come down to that. But if she does, she's going to look, and I have confidence in her. She's going to look, she's going to surprise herself. I don't think she quite knows how she could look, because how when you get that lean, like, things change. Oh, I didn't know I had that. I didn't know I had this. It's exciting. We've all been there, like when we've off season. Oh, I've got, this is shit. And you get lean, you're like, oh, what? It's actually not bad. It just wasn't looking how it looks now. So, Denver.
Going off the pictures that you showed from last year's show, but again, I know that it was a very short prep, so I'd say from that, obviously condition would be the main concern there, but you did say that was a very short prep. Going off how she is this year, I feel like she's milestones ahead of what she would have been last year. And I feel like she's in a way better spot leading into the show, and it's going to be a much longer prep. So I feel like she's definitely probably one of the main ones in wellness to be looking out for come comp day. Overall, physique wise, I feel like she's really well put together, honestly. Like not too muscular up top, a lot of muscle at the bottom. Like you said, like I don't think there's a wellness competitor in NZ that doesn't need more muscle in the lower body. If anything, most don't have enough muscle in jumping into wellness when they should be doing bikini. I think she's going to look really good for the show. Like, maybe just like you said, a little bit. I feel like the delts in wellness are a bit bigger, purely from what I'm seeing at comps overseas and stuff like that. So a little bit more size there. Back, completely fine. Core really tight for 12 weeks out. And low body, I think she's on. Glutes are full from top to bottom. I reckon she'll do really well this year.
Yeah, I think she looks better now than she did at the show last year.
Exactly, that's what I mean, because I feel like the work she's put in, she's put herself in a way better place. And obviously you're part of that as well.
No, that's not me. This was actually 14 weeks out, these photos.
No, I mean, as in like the
I know what you're saying.
And set her up for like an amazing prep.
Well, hopefully it's up to her. You've heard her, Shally. But yeah, okay. We're all in agreement once again. That's good. All right. Is that enough critiques for one day, you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enough, eh?
Yeah,
okay.
Leave something in.
Yeah. There's plenty there. Before we get to that one, Harry, we'll just knock this one on the head. We're all going to agree on what I'm about to say. So how can you still keep a social life and prep at the same time? Now, every time I hear this, I feel like you're asking it to be told. You're looking for an out. You're looking for someone to say, it's fine, just go to the restaurant and order steak and order salad and order dressing on the side, and it's fine. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not fine, because you don't know how much that steak weighs. You don't know how the steak was cooked. This is the truth. You want to do a show, you want to do it properly, you need to accept that you can still have a social life. Look, you can still go out, see your friends. You just can't eat the food, and you got to take your meal prep. You can't drink alcohol. If you can do that, then be social as you like. But if you truly want to do a proper prep and get in proper shape, honestly, you're probably not even going to want to socialize. You're not going to want to be around people for most of it, because you're going to be tired, you're going to be hungry. Especially I'm talking about at the end. But yeah, like, I feel like every time I get asked this, I just feel like they're just looking for someone to be like, oh, it's okay, you can still do all that stuff, and you can still do all that stuff. You just can't do the bits that you probably want to do, like eat the burgers and drink the wine and the beer and the whatever else, the cocktails. So by all means,
Yeah, I mean,
go do social.
Yeah, I listen. That's exactly how I feel about it. You either want to do it or you don't want to do it. The only way you can compete and do all those social things is by lowering your expectation of what you're going to look like when you hit stage, because it ain't going to be what it could be if you give yourself to it. I mean, the way that, so when I get asked that question, I say, listen, you can eat whatever you want every meal of the day when we get past the show. Literally do exactly whatever you want. And if you can't block out, and I always say this, if you can't block out that 12 to 16 to whatever it is weeks to get ready for a contest and just be all about it, you're not going to get the result that you want. And maybe you need to rethink whether or not you want to do that show. So yeah, there isn't a way. I don't think there is a way that you party, you do all these other things, and you wind up looking your best on show day. And I also feel that like the more, I certainly know that when I was in the very heaviest throes of my competing, my social life was not that it was non-existent, but I didn't do anything. I didn't eat, even off season, there was no drinking, there was no partying. I was social. I went out and did stuff with people, but there certainly wasn't anything else, that I felt was going to negatively impact me. I used to be the guy who'd be like, okay, it's, 11 o'clock at night, I'm going home because I need to sleep. I got this tomorrow. I got that. So yeah, I think that if you really want to, gosh, if you can't get through a 12 to 16 week period without going out, I mean, not going out, but without like, steak and chips and some drinks, then yeah, you kind of sort of should have a good look at whether or not it's something that you want to do.
And look, there's going to be times in prep where you probably will get opportunities to eat things like you'll give clients refeeds. You might get a burger and fries tomorrow for meal 4. Well, I mean, a lot of mostly the females I coach, if I do that quite often, they'll have it with their friends or with their partner or with someone to make it like a thing. Versus if it's me, I want to, when you're like 4 weeks up from a show, you just want to have it at home and enjoy it. If you got it, and you just don't want to be distracted. But
hey, let's be honest, at 4 weeks out, you've got no friends.
Yeah, it's also true. But yeah, I mean, use those situations if you have to. But I feel like if you're truly invested in a prep and you truly want to be your best, it doesn't even cross your mind. Like you generally be like, oh yeah, after the show we'll catch up. That's right. Like I don't think, oh yeah, this person wants to see me. It's 5 weeks out. I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah, cool. Well, in 5 weeks we'll go out. We'll go out, get a meal together and catch up. Like you got to make some sacrifices at the end of the day if you want to be good at anything, and that's just one of them.
That's what it is.
I mean, it is what it is. Use the off season to be social. Like I said, if you are an extreme social person and you have the energy to, by all means do it. But you've got to make those sacrifices as well, or you just won't look very impressive. That's the truth.
That's the truth of it.
And there's going to be someone who hears this who does all that and still gets shredded, and they're going to probably call us out and say we don't know shit.
Yeah, that'll be the one person, and then there'll be the reams of people who did all those things and look like shit on stage. So it doesn't pan out.
That's why Denver's quiet, because he's like, you guys don't know shit.
No. I'm just laughing because it's my client that asked this.
Was it?
Yeah. She would message me. She's like, answer my question.
Like, what's your answer?
Like, honestly, I know that she's a very social person, so be as social as you want to be, as long as it's not taken away from your goal. Like if you want to go out for dinners, that's cool. Pack your meal and take it with you. Eat your meal when you need to eat your meal. Don't be sacrificing like your performance in the gym. Don't be sacrificing your sleep. Don't be cutting your cardio short. If you can tick all those boxes and you still got the energy to go and socialize with your friends, go for it by all means. Like, there's no harm going for your friend's birthday party, taking a meal with you and leaving early, because you got to make sure that you get, say, 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, because you got to wake up in the morning and do your cardio. So do what you got to do. Enjoy yourself, enjoy your friends, but at the same time, make sure when check-in day comes, you've ticked all the boxes for the week.
And we've all been 4 weeks out and had to go to like a family thing, and or like
also remembering when you get to a point you're so lean and you're so fatigued, like you're not going to want to do that stuff. When you're further out in prep, when you're like 16, 20 weeks out, like you probably have the energy for that. And as you get closer and you get leaner and your food's lower, your socializing level of tolerance seems to lower at that time. So I find like that will tend to just happen by itself anyway. So if you're going to do those things and then you're going to not be able to recover, I'd say try to avoid it, because it's going to take away from how you're going to look on the pitch.
Yeah.
Harry, Denver, did you get the car?
No, I haven't picked it up yet.
Oh, are you
Don't
getting
worry,
it?
the minute I do,
Are you getting it though? Are you getting it?
Yeah. That's your bro. Yeah, hopefully this week.
Just that one you looked at?
The grey one. It'll be like the same shade as yours, bro.
Not the one. We take a photo together. We cool. Not that white one.
No.
I had to ask because I keep forgetting to ask you, so it just popped into my head. Anyway, moving on. What was the question you got? Something about deadlifts and squats and thicken.
It was about exercise selection and thickening the waist.
Something about, but wasn't it something specific about squats and deadlifts?
Let me just find it. Come on, bro. I sent it to you.
Bro, you got his flash camera.
I did one thing.
Turn the phone to the camera so we know who we're talking about.
I can't even.
He's one of my clients. I know.
I honestly can't even remember who exactly it was that asked me.
I can say that it was Madison.
Was it?
Yeah.
Why don't I have I'm just like looking at her thing, thinking, where is that question?
Madison. Short one.
At any rate, it was basically the idea. It was basically about squats and deadlifts thickening your waist. What do you think about it? How do you train to avoid that? So because there's that sort of idea that those things are what make people blocky.
It was like, well, firstly, can it? And then secondly, if it can, how do you prevent it?
How do you prevent it? So my answer to that would be that how your body responds to that is super genetic. So if you have a predisposition for all of that midsection and core and that to thicken up, it's going to thicken up anyway, right? Lifting all those heavy weights. So there might be some thickness, but the idea is that the benefit you get in terms of quad sweep and extra thickness through your back and this and that might add to it. But I would actually say I don't think it makes as much of a difference as people act like it does. I think that the reason why a lot of guys now you probably say, oh, gee, they're a lot blockier than they used to be. Comparing, say, a flex wheeler to a current standard guy is literally, to me, it's just the amount of food they eat and the drugs thickening up, creating that hypertrophy in the waist and the obliques and the.
And what about girls?
So, for example, if you look at, Ronnie Coleman will say that when he was a natural guy and won his first, his first shows and was deadlifting, 350 kilos and this and that, his waist was, I don't know if any of you guys remember, but when he started, his waist was so tiny. And then by the end of that, he will say that when he got to his biggest and he was competing at like 136 kilos, just as a result of putting on all of that extra muscle and all of that extra weight, whilst not actually being a whole lot stronger than he was at, 225, 100, basically 105, 110 kilos. It's not like the weights did it. It's just all the extra food, all the extra muscle growth and all of that. So I kind of think that if you have a predisposition to it, which I feel like would be evident relatively early on, then maybe you'd avoid those exercises. But I think that it's greatly exaggerated. What do you guys think?
I'll go last.
Again, I agree with you, Harry. I like if you naturally have a thicker waist, I would obviously try and do everything possible I can to try and keep that. Whether it's making sure you have better digestion, staying in better composition off season, and making sure like you're not trying to build your obliques in that midsection area way too much. So I feel like in that situation, maybe be a bit cautious with your what exercises you're choosing and stuff for that. But that's if you're predisposed to having a thick waist. I feel like you just got to be a bit more cautious. Even just wearing a belt on those exercises that load you really heavy, like deadlifting and squatting without a belt. I feel like it's just asking for trouble, And again, and if you look at a different situation as well, like again, being a girl, I'm like, I doubt there's enough of weight going on that bar to thicken your waist to the point that you think it's going to. Like you got to be moving some serious weight for that, for you to build those muscles. You've got like so many classic athletes that are deadlifting 300 plus and have tiny waists, you know. So I feel like you got to be moving some serious poundage to really blow your waist out. So yeah, that's pretty much my break.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. It's hugely genetic, your waist. I think this whole don't squat, don't. It's, in my opinion, yes, those movements can thicken your waist. They can. But there's two things to look at. One, how you're doing them, as you guys will obviously agree, because we've talked about this every single time we've spoken. How you do the movement. There's ways in which you squat like a bodybuilder, and there's ways in which you squat like a powerlifter. There's ways in which you deadlift like a bodybuilder. There's ways in which you deadlift like a powerlifter. Some people say there's no difference. I think there is. For example, if I'm coaching someone and they've already got a thick waist, well, I'm not going to have them free bar squat. I'll put them in the Smith machine or the hack squat. Make them wear a belt so they're not having to engage they're not having to, like, you know, their core's supported. I don't want the core to grow. If you train the core, it's going to grow in that way anyway. So, you know, using things like tempos and all that kind of stuff to reduce loading, but still make it hard on the muscle. There's ways to, you know, you can still do the movement without doing it like a meathead. And then what was I gonna say? I can't remember what I was gonna say. I've gone blank. But pretty much, I'm on the same page. Like, yeah, just look at the actual movement and look at how you do the movement. And also, like, your rep ranges are gonna matter. Like, don't go and do triples, doubles, singles if you don't want to load your waist. Do higher rep work, you know, 10 reps, 15 reps, things like that. That's what's gonna build more muscle anyway. And what was it? I've gone blank again. Oh my god, it's been a long day. No, but what I was gonna say is, like, when you're you don't have to like, it doesn't have to be yes or no, and you can cycle these things. Like, you can do them for 8 weeks, and then if you're worried about your waist, do 8 weeks of squats, then do 8 weeks of hacks. You know what I mean? And also you got to think of, like, the carryover you get from them. So people go on about, like, oh, this is what I was going to say. If my waist gets thicker, yeah, but what if you put an inch on your quad? And you know what I mean? Like, or what if you put your lats get bigger from, you know, or bent over rows? Yeah, but they make my back bigger, so it's going to make my waist. I know so many guys who have got real shitty waists, but they've got big, like, they've put on a lot of mass, and now their waist looks small. Their waist isn't small. They've just got so wide and so big that their waist now looks small. So it's just that illusion. So you've got to think of the pros as well. Like, can it put size on your midsection? Yes. But it's also going to put a lot of size everywhere else. So there's that, you know, there's that juggling act. But
I would say too that if you are predisposed to having a thicker waist, then you need to make sure your conditioning is 1,000,000%, and that you really practice keeping everything in your core and your midsection really tight. For example, you know, Jay Cutler doesn't have the smallest waist, and yet he carried an amazing physique on stage because he was always super conscious of keeping everything, his belly super flat, keeping everything super tight, so that, and he was one of those guys with massive flaring quads, big thick lats, super wide giant shoulders. So he compensated for that, so that it wasn't like it wasn't something that held him back. I mean, you know, he was a 4-time Mr. Olympia. So even if you have a predisposition to it, there is a lot of things you can do or be aware of to sort of help get past that.
Yeah, for sure. Nick Walker's another example as well. He's got a big waist, but you never see that guy with his waist out on stage. It's always tight. Like, no matter where he's walking, moving, unless he's turning around, you can't see it. Like, that thing's under control the whole time. So
what's that New Zealand what's that New Zealand pro guys? Really, really thick legs, amazing condition, crazy thick shoulders and upper body, really small waist. Denver something. But here's a guy who's loaded. Okay, so sorry, just being smart. Listen, loaded, tiny little waist.
But yeah, I mean that's genetics, but it's also how he.
It is genetics, but you know, we've seen him train. Guy trains like a monster.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
So
he's executing properly.
Whatever you're doing, it's not making you blocky. So
thanks, bro.
that's okay, bro. That's okay.
It's like who's he? And then I realized.
I thought he was going to say someone like really thick quads, big shoulders, and like a bad waist.
I mean,
we've got one more question.
All right.
And we'll do that. I feel like it's going to be a little bit helpful. It's a little bit different. What's your process for goal setting? Do you write them down, etc., etc., etc.? I'll go first. So I just do goals at the start of each year. And I'll have goals for different things. So I'll have, one goal for myself, like, I might have a goal for bodybuilding, or I might have a goal for business, financial goal. I try and do goals for a whole lot of things. And I think something that's really important is one, you got to keep because I have this issue with so I have an issue with like my birthday. Like every year it's my birthday, I get all like, oh, it's another year older. Like I've always been like that since I was about 21. But I find if I have goals and I achieve them, I'm okay with it. So I have that pressure. So as long as I achieve them, I'm all good. But if I don't, I get a bit depressed. So what I'm saying is you got to keep yourself accountable to them. A lot of people write them down in a notebook and then put them in the cupboard and they forget about it. And then they have the same goal next year, Keep yourself accountable to them. They can be big, they can be small, but just make sure you have them, make sure they're specific and measurable. Like literally measurable. Like they need to be like, I want to do this, not, kind of this. It needs to be this. And then also understand that there's going to be times where life's never straightforward. There's going to be like, I've had times where I've made goals and by March I've already achieved it, and I'm like, oh well, I really underestimated myself. But then I've had other times where it's November, I'm like, I still haven't got to that goal. Like the pressure's on, or I've got to the year's done and I didn't and I fell short. So understand that you need to sometimes have a bit of flexibility with them, and don't be afraid to, if you get to March and you've done it, well, set it way higher and get after it. And if you don't get to it, it's okay, because you're still going to get, where am I? You're still going to get here. You want to get here, you're still going to get here, but you started the year here. So, I write them down personally, and like I said, I try and have a variety of goals, not just one thing. People get too fixated on one thing, but as I said last time, you can give 100 to a lot of different avenues, and quite honestly, they generally all complement each other anyway. If one's going well, generally they're all going well, or not all of them, but most of them. And if a few are going badly, it's usually the same for the others. So that's what I do.
Denver?
I reckon definitely 100%. Like have goals, but I feel like have like say you've got your main goal for the year that you want to achieve. Again, you might have multiple, but what are the steps you're going to take to actually help you to that goal? Have little mini goals that you kind of tick off to help you get to that big one. Whether, if I'm just saying, for example, if it means like turning pro, cool. Like your small goal would be give yourself the best possible off season you could this year to set you up for a good comp prep. Then your next goal would be start your comp prep early enough to make sure that you come in freaky condition. And then within that prep, you could have little things that you tick off. So whether this goal be bodybuilding orientated, or it could just be something that you want to purchase something, whatever, it could be anything. It could be like helping out someone. Like I feel like have little steps that you tick off to make sure that you get to those big goals. Or else I feel like if you just have a big one right at the end and you just mucking around the whole time, and then you get to the point where it's just another year passed and you haven't done shit.
Pretty much.
Oh, I think so. For me, like with training, I always have goals. So I literally, I almost set them week to week, workout to workout. So it might be, I'm sure that we all do, right? In our own way, we do. It might be, I just want to do, so I might think, okay, I want to squat this weight for this many reps. So I might think, okay, what do I need to do that? Okay, next week do six reps, next week do 8 reps, the week after that, and then I'm at the goal that I want, or whatever. so with training, I have like larger goals, and then, you know, as you're saying, Denver, I break down into smaller goals. I find that what helps people and myself as well is to vocalize those things. As soon as you vocalize them, you become accountable to them. So that helps a lot. And then, yeah, I guess the more clarity you have in how you set down those goals and map them out, the more likelihood there is that you're going to be able to achieve them. And as you said, Jordan, you know, if you aim high, you know, if you hit 70-80% of that goal, you're still 70 to 80% better off than you were at the start. So, you know, I mean, I guess we all say the same things, right? Like you aim at certain things, you know, and for the rest of my life, it's literally just keep my kids alive for another year. That's it. That's, you know what I mean? Like I set goals in a lot of different areas, and I just try to chase them as best I can.
For sure. You said like how you vocalize them, so I feel like this is a good little thing to end on. I see people on Instagram like posting their every plan all the time, constantly, and it's always changing. So like I'm gonna do this, and then they don't do it, and then I'm gonna do this, they don't do it. Like, I think vocalize your stuff, but vocalize it to people that are actually important.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to go and tell the world. I mean, look, if that's what helps you, sure, do it. But majority of the time, that people that do it, it doesn't help them because they don't actually do anything. They don't do what they're saying they're going to do. They're constantly saying this, and it's like the thing is, people will stop taking you seriously. So I've done that myself. I've you know, especially with bodybuilding, you know, like when you like announce shows on Instagram, we've all done it, and for whatever reason haven't done the show. I mean, I've done it. I don't know about you guys. I know, Harry, you've done it as well. I don't know. Well, didn't you actually have? But it was COVID, so you couldn't. But anyway, we've all done it, right, at some point in our lives, because that's just what you do. Denver probably hasn't, because he never used to use social media because he was a caveman. But anyway, we've all done it, most of us. And I feel like it just adds. So in 2021, I was doing that prep. I prepped all year for that show, and I was looking the best I've ever looked, and I was prepping. Prep wasn't even hard. I was 7 weeks out. I was 6 weeks out, I think, actually. And then we had the lockdowns, and the shows went from October to December, so I didn't end up doing it. And I really battled with going back and forth, like, do I just keep going? But then there was no guarantee of the show being on, and obviously as a male bodybuilder, we're doing certain things that we don't want to be doing for too long. So I made the decision not to compete. But the main reason I didn't want to do that was because I said I was going to do it publicly, and I was, you know, I mean, I wasn't happy about not being able to do it, but it was like, fuck, I've said I was going to do it, and now I don't do it, and I hate that. So I didn't regret posting about it, because I feel and to be honest, one of the main reasons why I even announced it in the first place was because I knew it helped clients in a weird way. It helped them deal with their preps, or gave them a bit of like motivation or whatever. So that's why I was being proactive. But since then, I probably, if I was to do another show, I probably would just keep it to myself and my friends and just end up doing the thing. So that's how I would go about it. But yeah, I definitely encourage you to vote. You got to apply some pressure. So talk, and I think talking about it helps as well. Like, talking about it hypes you up.
And I think, like, you're 100%, you're right. It's who you vocalize it to. That's what's important. Like, I can say whatever I want, but as soon as I tell my family that I want to do something, then they have to start working out all the sacrifices they need to make for me to do that. There's a lot more pressure on me to look at doing that. So yeah, it's 100% also who you speak to about it, and having the right people to talk to. So, you know, to me that's a big deal, because I mean, I'm probably, you know, you guys are probably the same as me. I don't feel any pressure from. I don't really care about my people. Not that I don't care. I don't care what they say, what they think. I just do what I want to do, right? But if I have that conversation and I start to work out how I'm going to do something, and it involves the people that are directly every day in my life, then it's a whole other level of like seriousness and how I address it. So yeah, it's who you vocalize it to. But you have to do it. To me, yeah, those are the ones that count are the ones that have to have the conversations with, because if you don't have their support, it's very difficult to persevere.
But also, they're the people that if you change your mind, you're going to be like worried about. And you'll be like, oh, I don't want to tell them. So it creates pressure. It does, for sure, 100%. I think if you never ever vocalize the goal to anybody, I just feel like you wouldn't get anything done. I don't know. Maybe some things you would, like day-to-day things, but like things out of the ordinary that require like a bodybuilding show. Perfect example.
Yeah, you sometimes you need that motivation to push yourself.
Yeah, you do. And sometimes they're also like, you know, we all have moments where we need a push. So sometimes, you know, that just that text message, you know, it can help at that time. So everyone's got their circle. Make use of it for sure, 100%. And like I said, it doesn't have to just be about body. It can be about anything. You might even find you have different people you talk to about different goals, because you know, there's some people you're going to talk to about this, and there's some people you're going to talk to about how much you're going to squat tomorrow. It's just the way it is. So anyway, that's it. That's all I have. That's all they want to hear today. That's all we're good for.
I'm sure we're good for a lot more, but we've been very nice this week.
Yeah,
I'm proud of us.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
We think that,
but someone's going to take it the wrong way.
Someone will take something the wrong way. Look,
come at me.
It's got to that. But listen, we can just clarify that everybody uses proper form now.
Yeah.
They always have.
Yeah.
And we haven't helped in any way when it comes to that.
Yeah. So. It's just, we've been wasting our time and theirs.
Lift with no purpose. Just move the weight, bro. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. All these things we're getting tagged in are just bullshit, because everyone's already doing that. But no, I'm just joking, guys. Just chill. It's just a joke. Relax. Don't be friends. Anyway, boys.
If we don't want to be friends, we can just unfollow and block.
Oh, one more thing. I have to announce the winner. I'm not going to do it now because I have to go watch them all back. But I got more.
Shit.
I got more. If you had 5 plates on, you would have won. No, I have to. Nah, because I wanted to do it like with you guys on here, but too many people put it on their story. So I've got to go through my archives. It's going to take me ages. I've got to go through my archives, watch them. I've kind of I already have a mental note. It's out of 3 people. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, I'll put that up tonight. So you guys will, by the time this
I just want to know what type of video wins, so that I can fail at the right time to win a crop top. Know what I mean?
I'll give you a crop top for nothing. I just want to see you in a crop top.
I just have to wear it.
Yeah. No, I just want to see, like, I got people using good form, which is cool, but I want to see more than just good form. I don't want to just see someone do perfect form of 10 reps. I want to see people that do 10 reps, but it's like their life depends on it.
Yeah.
They get to 6, and I'm like, how did this psychopath get to 10?
Like that single leg press or some of that shit. Like,
that's what I said. That's what I said. Their last rep, man. Yeah. I mean, that Georgia posted a set of hacks with a broken leg, like. And she's like doing these negatives, and like, this is what I'm saying. Like, she's obviously got an injury; she can't load, but that's work. She's working.
It's effort, yeah.
That's what I want to see. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna pick that tonight, and we'll see who wins a free T-shirt. Never fold, just like that.
Yeah, just exactly like that. I should get a tattoo. Oh, wait a minute.
Go on.
Okay, Rose.
Don't go there. I just got it. All right. See you, boys.
See ya. See you, Demo.
Real life, real talk, never fall. We ain't doing that. Want me fall off, but I can't. I'm just too attached. I was so lost. I ain't going back. Never fall. We on the road. We on the road.